Difficult Transition by Eddie Sharp. Ingleburn 2565. Narrated by David Tredinnick. "Help! My sister fell through the ice!" I yelled, desperately seeking assistance. Ingrid had walked ahead of me towards the opposite bank, where she intended to climb up to the road. 3 men arrived quickly. "Where is she?" one demanded sternly. Filled with anxiety, I couldn't speak. I pointed towards the bridge, where the ice was thin. The men lay themselves face down as they approached the opening in the ice. "I can see her. Grab my legs," the man closest to her shouted to the other 2 men. He quickly pulled her out of the freezing canal. Once out of the icy water, Ingrid was wrapped in a dry blanket and whisked away, leaving me behind to find my own way home. Only 6 years old, and I had called out for help. It was disappointing that she hadn't acknowledged my assistance. Surprisingly, there was no mention at home of the incident at the canal. I finally became self-aware when aged 6. Being extremely shy, making friends was a struggle. I felt isolated. However, I did enjoy going to the local bakery for fresh bread, also the grocery store and fish markets. I was more confident around those people, as my family shopped there regularly. Living in Amsterdam during the 1950s was exciting. I found the different facades of the old buildings from the 1500s captivating. Real excitement finally came with the winter snow and ice. "Can we go skating on the canal this Sunday?" I asked at dinner one night. "The ice is thick now and safe to skate on. Manya and I could go." "We'll see, Eddie. Finish your dinner," my father Peter replied in non-committal tones. Manya was 2 years older than me, yet we were close. Her birthday was in May, only 1 day before mine. Ingrid was 5 years older. She spent most of her time with our mother, Katie. At that time, Ingrid was almost twice my age. We lived on the Plantage Muidergracht. Centuries ago, a dedicated garden area. Our street shared its name with the nearest canal. During the week, after a heavy snowfall, Manya and I hurriedly strode to the local park. We made a snowman, then threw snowballs at each other. After Sunday morning breakfast, Manya and I grabbed our skates, then hurried to the canal. The leather straps had to be fastened over our shoes before stepping onto the ice. Being out of practice, we both started off wobbly. Within several minutes, our balance improved. We enjoyed skating between the bridges for a while before heading home. During the warmer months, we rode our push bikes into the countryside, with Arjan securely strapped into a child seat behind one of our parents. We stopped at a dairy farm where we sampled warm milk straight from the cows. The country rides were enjoyable. The terrain was flat, making cycling easy and fun. When I turned 8, my father arranged a day out on a fishing trawler. Watching the nets full of herring being brought in was fascinating. Back at the dock, when the herring were unloaded, some were filleted and eaten. Head back, the herring was held overhead, then slid into the mouth. I preferred mine salted, with raw onion. Another excursion my father took me on was to Madurodam, a miniature village in The Hague. The tiny buildings, vehicles, boats and trains were fascinating. We went by scooter, which I didn't know he had. In fact, I knew very little about him, except that he was an engineer. Our parents unexpectedly informed us one day that we were going to move to Australia. We were each handed an English phrase book, which had to be studied. Greetings, counting, and basic phrases were easy enough to learn. Within weeks, we were on a ship bound for Australia, a 6-week journey. Our first port was Fremantle, where we disembarked to look around. The roundhouse was an intriguing old building. Leaving Fremantle, we sailed to Adelaide, Melbourne, and then Sydney, our destination. The transition was difficult. From the colder European climate to regular heat waves, flies, mosquitoes, and meat ants. City living to suburbia. No more walking along canals or ice skating. From a short walk to school to travelling by bus and steam train. Folk dancing and climbing rope to football and cricket. I detested dancing and sports. English replaced Dutch. Everything considered, I coped well assimilating to the Australian way of life. Now, decades later, I do some smaller maintenance jobs and electrical safety inspections to supplement my pension. I'm not planning to stop anytime soon. I have regular customers who appreciate my various skills and ability to resolve most of their maintenance requirements. After raising our 2 children, my wife and I now live in our modest home, which backs onto a large reserve. A variety of birds, from small finches to wrens, peewees, bowerbirds, magpies and sulphur-crested cockatoos, visit our yard daily to drink from the bird bath and splash around. We place bird feed in dishes on the outside of our sliding glass door. Colourful rainbow lorikeets visit every day to enjoy the feast. Recently, 3 lorikeets waited for food on our railing. As feed was being poured into the dish, one lorikeet landed on my shoulder, clawed its way down my arm, and waited for me to pour feed into my hand. Then, while sitting on my thumb, he enjoyed the treat. One pampered bird. 2 interstate holidays are booked in for this year. One for 10 days in Perth during May, flying each way to visit family and sightseeing. The second holiday in October. A 10-day cruise from Sydney, stopping in Adelaide, Melbourne, Hobart for 4 days, then flying back to Sydney. As a semi-retired tradesman, I can choose when to work, which jobs to do and which to refuse. My wife retired earlier this year, and we enjoy our free time together.
The end.